Hello, Twitch. How's everybody doing today? Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the pre-show trivia. Looks like there was a little bit of a bug there. Some questions I added recently that happen to have HTML in the answers seems to have messed up the HTML that's being rendered by the trivia. So that's a problem. Got to figure that out. If these didn't have to go through an approval process, that would be a potential security issue, right? But fortunately, they still have to be approved by yours truly. So if someone's trying to put some cross-site scripting in there, I would see that. That doesn't mean I shouldn't fix it though. So I need to get that taken care of. Hey, Calvin, thanks for joining. Unfortunately, your video is not going to play because of the way that I detect, sort of entering in the chat room, and they don't get played during the pre-stream trivia. But normally there'd be a little clip right here with Calvin's intro video. Well, thanks for joining me today, everybody. And it's been about a week or so, maybe even more. I don't know, since I did some live streaming, some office hours here. So this is number 78, and I'm going to do some work on today's stream. Just going to do some plain old work. I've got some reviewing of some documentation, some getting started pieces of the documentation, specifically around .NET. So I'm going to go through that and review that on the stream today. And this is actually something that anybody can do, by the way. Couchbase's documentation is totally open source. And if you want to go in there and submit changes, fixes, typo corrections, all that kind of stuff, you can do that too. So you're totally able to follow along with this if you want to. So in fact, why don't I go ahead and set, I'm skipping ahead a bit here. I'm going to set the current project to the repo where the documentation lives that we're going to work on today. And there's one specific page we'll work on, and maybe two if I get through that. That's what we're going to do today. So let's go through our normal spiel here. This is a place where it's safe to ask questions. So if you got questions, they're not stupid. I don't consider them stupid. So ask away, no matter how simple you think it is. Feel free to ask. Those kind of questions are welcome here. We can go off on tangents. We can discuss related topics. Anything, totally fine. Calvin, thank you for the subscription. I appreciate that very much. You subscribed for 12 months? Doesn't seem right. Haven't we streamed that long? I don't think so. It says 12 months and 3-month streak. So that's great. Appreciate that, Calvin. That's a Twitch Prime subscription, by the way. If you are a Amazon Prime member, then you get one of those free every month. You can just throw towards the streamer of your choice. And I appreciate that Calvin's chose to use that on me. I very much appreciate that. And by the way, my Amazon Prime was just renewed just yesterday. So it's nice to have that as a little perk. One of the many perks of Amazon Prime is the Twitch Prime subscription, free delivery, Prime Now video, all those sorts of things. This isn't supposed to be a Prime commercial, but it's on my mind because I just renewed it yesterday. At first I didn't think that amount of money would really be worth it, but I think it's definitely worth it. So I think I get back the value in shipping costs alone. All right, I am a member of Team Live Coders. So let's bop on over there. Check out the Twitch team page for the Live Coders team. A lot of people streaming right now. A lot of people. C# Fritz is doing a post-build party, I believe. Yep, definitely. Post-build party. Microsoft Build just wrapped up recently, either today or yesterday. I'm not sure exactly what time it wrapped up. But that's what's going on there right now. So I'm sure he's got lots of guests, and it says hashtag sponsored and stuff. So that's cool. But we're going to come back here at the end of my stream and find someone to raid and go into their stream and keep it going. So if you're looking to find some places, oh, it wraps up today. Okay, thank you, Calvin. If you're looking for someone else to follow or to look for live coding, this is a great place to start. Twitch.tv/live-coders, and go check it out there. So this morning, Calvin and I are going to be recording a podcast tonight. So if you are, we're going to be live streaming that recording. So you definitely want to check out Calvin A. Allen on Twitch. That'll be a big special post-build episode. Lots of stuff to cover. Announced and shared by Microsoft. So our podcast is all about .NET ecosystem, .NET Bytes. So we'll be covering a lot of that today. So you can get a little sneak preview if you tune into our live recording. Of course, that'll be released on the podcast feeds some point later. Okay, what else? Awesome Developer Streaming List. This is another big directory of developers who are streaming from anywhere. Not just Twitch, not just Live Coders team, but anywhere. And this was updated yesterday. So I'll do a normal search here, but you can see it's got names and then what the person is streaming about. So I'll just do a quick search for data. I always like to search for data, see who's doing what with data. This is the normal list of names on here. So there's yours truly. Databases, Couchbase, .NET. That's the kind of stuff I do here. Rachel Tatman, Shirley Wu, Ted Young, and Go Maestro Go, Jack Mott. Yep, looks like the same candidates as usual. Can you post this link, please? Yes, PSF. And how are you? Thanks for coming by. It is github/bnb/awesome developer streams. You can get yourself added there. You can find other people to stream based on the topics that you're interested in. And thank you for tuning in, PSF. I appreciate that. What does PSF stand for, if you don't mind sharing? Okay, and bit.ly/growstube. So if you go down to that link over there somewhere, notice my purple bar at the bottom has changed a little bit. But you can go watch the old YouTube videos of previous Twitch episodes. Protoss Special Forces, a StarCraft 2 fan. Okay, cool. I think I played a little bit of StarCraft 2 back in the day. It's been a long, long time. I played a lot more Warcraft 2, and Warcraft than I did StarCraft. But anywho, thanks for stopping in. So anyway, you can go watch old recordings there over on GrowsTube if you like to watch things at 2x speed. That's a great way to do it. If you have questions or comments there, leave them, and I'm happy to read those or answer those on the next episode and in the comments themselves. So hello if you're watching on YouTube. And the other thing I should point out now that I'm thinking about it is that purple bar over there. Notice this one down here, bit.ly/submit trivia. So this one you may not have seen before, but because it's kind of brand new. And if you were here for the pre-show trivia, you saw a selection of random trivia questions. And what you can do now is you can go to bit.ly/submit trivia. You can submit your own trivia questions. And these are, going to be tech and software and dev and programming related questions are the ones that I'm looking for mainly. But you can submit one, and you will get credited for it when your question appears on a pre-show trivia, which is randomly selected. You will get credit for it. It'll say, "Oh, question submitted by PSF" or "question submitted by Calvin A. Allen." So this is a fun way to sort of get your name out there and just submit some fun trivia for the pre-show. So you can check. You have to log in via Twitch. I didn't show that part because I'm already logged in on Twitch, but you'll need to log in on Twitch to do this. And then you can see here, if I go back to the manage portion, here are all the questions. This is the question bank I've got so far, and you can see that I have to go through approval, right? So I have to review them and say, yeah, that's fine. It doesn't have anything in there that's incorrect or inappropriate, that sort of thing. Now, why is I just checked this before I came in. The color is off in the background here. What's up with my lighting? I don't know. I just tweaked this beforehand. So that's worse. I don't know. Really need to get some real lights down here. Besides this one circle light here, which is nice for the face, but I need some better lights in the background. I just have some really weak like incandescent bulb track lights right now. Need to get on that. All right, what else we got? Pluralsight course, yes, yours truly is on Pluralsight now. I'm a Pluralsight author. If you go to Pluralsight and you are going to, of course, you can get a free trial here at Pluralsight, and they had a sale going on. It must be over now. Oh, that's a little chat. I don't know what the sound effect was. But you see here there is a, where is it? Here is yours truly. You go to creating and managing your first Couchbase cluster. It's here on Pluralsight. You can check it out. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Pluralsight has a great process going through and building this up. Hopefully it's not my last one, but this is my first one. And so if you want to check that out, you can go to this link right here. And that's basically a getting started with Couchbase from scratch. It's you don't have to know anything to get started. However, once you take this one, there's lots of other courses that cover Couchbase. Not written by yours truly, and most of them are by, well, he's not on here, by Keishun Iyer. So like query, there are a lot around Nickel, the query language for Couchbase, which is just SQL, functions, eventing, monitoring, all those sorts of things. There's even a course here that's about mobile. It's by another author. So lots of great stuff there on Pluralsight for Couchbase. Events. So SQL Saturday and Manning Livestream. Those happened this last Saturday, just about 6 days ago. And those went well. The Manning one is still available on Twitch. I don't know if they're going to export those anywhere else, but if you head over to Manning Publications, and I'll give them a shout out as well, head over to Manning Publications and you'll see the videos there, and you can see the schedule of upcoming events for Manning. Definitely want to check that out. It was good stuff. A lot of fun there. Good questions. SQL Saturday, these videos are not going to be posted. These were hosted on a GoToMeeting, so those are not recorded. So those are not available, but it did go really well. Lots of people, great questions showing up for that. Another great event. What's coming up is NDC Oslo. This is one that's next up on my docket. I'm actually have been working on the slides for this, and I've got the outline in place and a plan for what I want to cover in there, and some code samples that I can use or reuse. And I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be the first time I've delivered ACID transactions for NoSQL, which something I'm really excited about. It's a great feature that the relational has had for a long, long time, and now it's NoSQL has it as well. And so I want people to know about that. I want to shout it from the rooftops, so to speak. So, and I'm also excited because it's my first NDC period and my first NDC Oslo. Unfortunately, it's the virtual version. It's the non-in-person one, but I'm still excited for it. It's going to be a great conference. I'm honored to be selected for NDC Oslo. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you are too. So we want to check that out for sure. ndcoslo.com. After that, Live Coders Conference is coming up. Looks like I will not be speaking at this conference, but it's still going to be great. That's June 20th. You want to check that out. Good stuff coming to Live Coders Conference there in just about under a month. So that's what's on the docket. I don't think I have any more events right now. There's still some pending things that are out there, but that's all I've got to plug right now. Okay, today we're going to get into some documentation review. And what I want to do is just look at this page here. So let's say you're saying getting started, Couchbase, .NET. So you're searching that into Google or Bing or whatever, and you're going to be, well, I don't know, one of these links. I don't know if it's necessarily, and this is maybe something I need to figure out, but you're eventually going to get funneled into, yeah, right here, the Hello World SDK documentation. And this takes us to just like a developer's intro, and then there's the .NET Hello World here. So this is the page, and I think there's a lot more search terms that go directly to this page. I haven't looked into that too much, but this page is where the rubber meets the road with a .NET developer and Couchbase, and this is where they're going to be reading through and trying to follow along and follow the instructions. So this is This is the 3.0 version up here. You can see we've just released the .NET SDK 3.0. In fact, I think we're on 3.0.2 or 3.0.1 or something like that right now. And that's a relatively new version. So one of the things that I've been asked to do is to just go through this and make sure that the code samples are complete and that they make sense and that they're functional and there's nothing missing here in order to get started. And I'm going to do that. And in the previous streams, I've written entire tutorials that focus on kind of ecosystem. So it's like ASP.NET and Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code and the .NET command line, things like that. This is going to be a little more generic, a little more sort of simple, getting started kind of thing. So just going to go through it and read through it and see if we can make any changes. One thing I should point out up here, this is similar to Microsoft, is this little pencil icon you can see at the top right there. This will take you over to this exact page in GitHub where you can, if you want to, make changes right here in GitHub. And well, in my case, I can commit them because I have permission to do so, but you can also submit a pull request to the documentation. So if you see a typo or something is missing, something doesn't look right, you can make the fix yourself, submit it, and away you go. So much like the Microsoft Docs, which are completely open source now, Couchbase has followed suit. This has been the case for a while. I remember writing a blog post about this. Seemed like ages ago, but just introducing this open source feature of Couchbase. Now, one kind of major difference, I guess, and if you're only making minor changes, you're not going to notice this, but the format of these is ASCII doc, the ADoc format here, which looks a lot like Markdown, but it has some more advanced features that Markdown doesn't have built into it that are really good for documentation or book writing or things like that, as opposed to Markdown, which is really good for like simple blog post style things. But and a lot of people use Markdown for documentation. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but since I've used ASCII doc for a while, I understand that it has a lot more powerful stuff that makes sense in an environment where there's lots and lots of content. And to do the same thing with Markdown, you got to go through a lot of extra hoops, where ASCII doc kind of has that built in. Anyway, so that's if that's why this looks familiar to you, it's because it's very similar to Markdown, but it is not Markdown. Okay. All right, so that's the page we're going to work on. Now, I've already forked the repo for this, and it is did I just show it here? Yeah, and it's the current project. So if you do current project, it'll show you the link to it right there. It's docs-sdk-.net. So there's one for each of the major SDKs. There's like a Java one, Node one, etc. And then inside of that, you can see there's a bunch of modules and all different sections of modules. We're going to focus on Hello World. And in the pages, we're going to focus on Start Using SDK. So I've already forked this into my own mgroves GitHub account, and I've pulled that down. So I'm editing it locally here in Visual Studio Code. And notice I've also got this ASCII doc extension installed, which allows me to preview it on the right side of the screen here. So this is the actual raw ASCII doc, and this is the preview of it here in VS Code. So it's not exactly how it looks, right? There's still some custom styles and things, and Couchbase does on the actual website, but it gives you a rough idea of how it looks. And you can actually set up the full build and stuff here locally if you really, really want to. But I haven't done that yet. I don't need to jump through those extra hoops. I'm going to go ahead and mess with this filter a little bit because it's kind of, let's just notice the fuzziness back there. So that's a little better. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay, just bump it up a few points. All right, so let's read through this and see if anything needs to be updated. And I'm going to go through this step by step, by the way, as if I were a developer coming to this page for the first time. All right, install and start using the .NET SDK with Couchbase Server. Summary: the Couchbase .NET SDK enables you to interact with a Couchbase Server cluster from the .NET framework using C# and other .NET languages. So this is probably not correct, because the .NET framework has some specific meaning these days, right? So we're going to get rid of the and framework. I'm just going to say from .NET. because it can work with .NET Core, it can work with .NET Framework, it works with .NET Standard 2, right down here. .NET Standard 2. Okay. The Couchbase .NET Client It offers both traditional asynchronous API and asynchronous API based on the task-based asynchronous pattern. I don't know. I don't think I've heard this before. Okay, Microsoft is calling it that. Task-based asynchronous pattern is based on, okay, well, I guess. I never really heard it called that before, but all right, that's fine. Couchbase.NET Client allows applications to connect to the Couchbase data platform using any common language runtime language, including C#, F#, VB.NET. The SDK is, so this is the Couchbase data platform. Would it be more accurate to say Couchbase server? Because up here it says Couchbase server. Now this is data platform. Just say to Couchbase server. Using any common language runtime language, CLR language. C#, F#, VB.NET. This is actually pretty cool that we're calling out F# and VB.NET here, even though they're kind of number 3 and number 2 respectively in .NET. All of our examples are C#, pretty much across the board. I don't think there's any VB examples, honestly, but I have been known to drop into VB to answer a Stack Overflow question from time to time. F#, I don't think we have anything F# at all, but you can still use it from F#, so it's good to call that out. The SDK is written in C#. Some of its idiomatic patterns reflect that choice. Okay. .NET SDK is a complete rewrite of the API, reducing number of overloads to present a simplified surface area and adding support for future Couchbase server feature like collections and scopes. Available on Couchbase Server 605 as a developer preview. The API is now fully async. Okay, then this is incorrect. I think this is, I think I remember seeing this. So it's not synchronous anymore. 3.0 is not. It offers an asynchronous API based on the task-based asynchronous pattern. So that needs to change for sure. Okay. Developer preview. This is a link to collections. Okay, I don't know why we're going to that. Okay, I don't know. Okay, installing the SDK. The Couchbase.NET SDK targets .NET Standard 2, so this links over to Microsoft if you don't know what that means. So .NET Standard 2 supports all these things here. 4.6.2 plus, so technically it's 4.6.1 plus, right? 6.2, yeah. Curious why they said 4.6.2 when over here it definitely says 4.6.1. Let's see, the version listed here represents the rules that NuGet uses to determine whether given as a library. Well, NuGet considers .NET Framework 4.6.1 as supporting. There are several issues with it. Okay, that's fine. So it's a little footnote. So we've said 4.6.2. Microsoft said 4.6.1, kinda. All right, that's fine. In .NET Core, example is EG. Shouldn't that be E period G period? Okay. Library is distributed in a number of ways. NuGet, package host at nuget.org. Okay, and this goes over to, yep, all right. Zip file can be downloaded here. No one's hardly going to use this, I don't think, and same here, no one's hardly going to use the source. It's possible, but it's fine to mention it here. In VS Code with the NuGet package manager extension, open the command palette and type NuGet. So this is already getting us into VS Code. And it's pointing us to this extension manager, which seems to be popular enough. And type NuGet. then Couchbase Net Client, select the latest 3.0 version available. Okay, so it's kind of skipped a step here. So I'm going to open up another Visual Studio Code. And I'm going to, let's just create a folder here. I'm creating a folder off screen just called Delete Me. Open folder, cproj delete me. Okay, select that folder. Now the command palette is, what is that? Control, no, it doesn't really say. Here, I can't remember what it is. Control space or, I don't remember. What's the command palette? Control Shift P. Okay, and then do I have the NuGet extension it's talking about already installed? NuGet. I don't have the one that's already installed. But there is a NuGet. Add new package here. Cannot read project JSON. Please try again. So I haven't actually started a project yet, right? So it's just curious to me why we're getting into VS Code specifics and NuGet extension specifics when we haven't covered the create a new project. I would expect them both to be there or them both to be omitted. We're assuming they know how to create projects and install NuGet, or we're assuming they don't. I just wonder if this is... See, now it says, now you have the NuGet client installed, open a fresh project in VS Code. That doesn't work that way. If you're using NuGet, you have to have a project already. And open a fresh project in VS Code. Again, you can't really just say in VS Code, new project, right? There's nothing like that. So I'm gonna have to read through this, but I think this should be omitted and this should be omitted. Not unless you drop to the command line to do it, right? Yeah. Obviously, if I go to here, I can go to a terminal and say .NET new whatever, right? But I can't, that's not, technically speaking, this isn't Visual Studio Code doing it. It's PowerShell. It's command line doing it. So I don't know. I think this needs to be omitted, and this is, now you have the .NET client installed, open a fresh project in VS Code. I think this has got it backwards. And it says try out the following, which assumes this is a run-on sentence too, I think. Let me keep going. I'll come back to this. Of course, you need to have a few using statements. Yeah, that's correct. And can connect to the cluster. Uses role-based access control to control access to resources. You're developing client code in the same VM machine. Okay. This is just a link over to here, and it's an old link for some reason. It should probably be current, right? Yeah. Let me look at that. So let's see. Role-based access control. Yeah, why does it say 6.0? I wonder if that works as a link there. See, and this is where having the oh shoot, what happened? This is where having the whole build locally would help, because those little xref. Where? Yeah, this little xref stuff, that's going to depend on, and we're talking about having a different repo, like the server documentation. We're cross-referencing over to that. Let me just see if there's any more examples of that in here. Xref how-tos, project docs, yeah, concept docs. So I think this is what I want here. I don't want to link to an older version of it. I want to link to the latest RBAC page here. Okay. Okay, open the bucket. Same VM can be Couchbase. Excuse me, localhost. All right. Now there's nothing in here about installing Couchbase either. Let me just write some of this down. Link to installing Couchbase. Like there's several different ways to do it. Probably need a link to that. And remove VS Code. Put question marks here. Remove VS Code NuGet instructions. Not remove, but remove or rework, I guess. Okay, I want to read the whole thing before I go back and make these changes. Okay, notice here this is async. In the older versions, you had async, but you had a synchronous version as well. Now you only have async. It's your only option. Okay, then open the bucket. So there's a link to collections. Why wouldn't there be a link to bucket as well? All right, let me look at the collections here. Concept docs, collections. That's part of this. There's a buckets and clusters, but I don't know, it looks like it's commented out. That's weird. And this goes to 6.5? What in the world? Huh. Okay. I should also mention that 3.0, I mentioned again, that 3.0 is relatively new, so a lot of stuff might be work in progress. Okay. And this is all referring to start using code. What is this $sign here for? That's syntax I haven't seen yet. Start using tag equals using. That's the using up here. What's this $sign? That's interesting. Example, that may be a placeholder, a token, because it's not resolving it here. As you can see, if I specified the folder up in the headers, perhaps, then it would do that. So okay. All right. If you install the travel sample bucket, which it didn't mention until just now. Okay, so travel sample bucket. So again, if you're the first time here, then you don't know what that means. 3.0 SDK is ready for the introduction of collections in an upcoming release of Couchbase Data Platform. The latest release brings a limited developer preview of collections, allowing documents to be grouped by purpose or theme according to specified scope. Here we will use the default collection, which covers the whole bucket and must be used when connecting to a 6.5 cluster or earlier. Okay, we're in kind of a weird state right now with collections, and that it's there, but it's very much a preview feature. It's not supported. If you go into the UI, you don't see any collections or anything like that. So it's kind of a limbo state where the SDK is a little bit ahead on purpose, right? Because we want to be able to handle that stuff in the SDK when it's available. KV operations are described in detail on the KV operations page. So probably, that's a little bit of a jarring sentence. Like, what do we mean KV operations? So if I look at KV operations, key value CRUD operations are described in detail on the KV operations page. That might be a better way to word it. People, KV may be something people are familiar with if they're new to document databases, but CRUD is something you probably have heard before. Now that you know the basics, you may wish to go straight to that page. To get you started, the following code creates a new document and then fetches it again. I don't know if that's really necessary. Now that you know the basics, you may wish to go straight to that page. Yeah, this is okay. Well, I don't know. This seems like it's a bit extra. Like why are we talking about this right now? This is just hello world. Let's get started. Why are we going into this? What do I find if I go here? Someone asks a question, or are you just working to improve the docs? No, yeah, I'm just working to improve the docs. J.R. Lawhorn, which good to see you, by the way. Yeah, I've been asked to review specifically this getting started page and go through and try to improve it to kind of make the experience a little easier for people who are coming to Couchbase for the first time. And since my specialty is .NET, I've been asked to look at the .NET page. Yeah, it says code operations right here. Cool, they could use improvements. Well, as I was saying, J.R. Lawhorn, at the beginning here, every one of these documentation pages has this little edit page icon here. So you can go in and edit them yourself if you see a problem or see something that can be improved. You cannot edit them directly, right? But you can create I can edit them directly, but you can create a pull request. They're completely open source. So if you want to suggest an improvement, you can submit the pull request. You can also just create an issue and say, hey, this something maybe more major. You could say, I think you should go this route with it, something like that. So yeah, totally open source. And by the way, JR, if you happen to see a page that you would like to be reviewed, or because I know you're doing a lot of Couchbase these days, if you see a page that has some problems, there's also this feedback button down here, which you can click on, and hopefully it'll work. Is it broken? What's going on here? Oh yeah, here we go. Shoot, I just refreshed. Anyway, there's this feedback button down here, and you can type in some description of what the problem is. I'm getting some drop frames. Oh boy. Having some video problems of my own. Wonder what that's about. 10% over the last 2 minutes. Hopefully that's just a little blip. Anyway, you can put in the description here of the problem as much detail as you want to, and that will create an actual ticket that the docs team can read and review and work from. So that's another way you can submit some feedback about documentation. So if you see those, you can let me know. Certainly, you can click the feedback button, let the docs team know, and you can submit pull requests. There's lots of options there for you if you would be nice enough to help contribute. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so a lot of talk about collections here. That's fine. Default collection. Yeah, this KV operation stuff. I don't know. I might just want to omit that. And I might, so to get you started, so I might want to just omit this part right here completely. To get you started, the following code creates a new document and then fetches it again, printing the result. Maybe in this flyout, I can ditch this asynchronous talk and put in a link to KV operations instead. And say, to learn more about all the operations available, you can go to the KV operations page. I think I like that idea. Okay, so I'm going to write that down as a note. Move KV operations note into, what's not called flyout, what's it called? A note. Okay, yeah, because we already covered this at the very beginning, that's entirely asynchronous, following modern .NET development recommendations, whatever that means. Hey, I'm still dropping frames. What's happening? Let me just check some internet stuff going on here at the house. You know, normally when the kids are home, recently, it hasn't been a major problem. But I'm going to just do some pausing right now on their devices and see if that's going to improve anything. I'm using something called Circle. I can manage the devices in the house, whether they get internet access or not. And leave their laptops on for schoolwork. But pause their games and stuff. Okay. Let's see if that has any effect. All right. So let's see the actual code here. Upsert result equals collection upsert my document. Can you throttle them? I can't throttle their bandwidth. I don't think so. No, not with this version of Circle. Maybe there's a newer version. I'm kind of in the first generation. But I can't go in here and say limit their bandwidth. Their device. That would be pretty cool, though. That'd be a cool feature. I can completely shut them off, though. So I have, like, my son's got, like, his PlayStation 4 and, like, his little phone and a Roku in his room, for instance. And I can just shut them off completely. And you know, I can set bedtimes and wake up times and filtering content. Right, so he can't go to Facebook on those devices. He can spend 4 hours on YouTube, stuff like that. Right, still dropping frames, man. What is happening? This hasn't been a problem in a long time. I'm wondering if there's some issue with Twitch. Well, the download speed seems to be fine. Upload speed seems to be fine, so I don't know what's going on. Seems like chat is slow too. It does seem like it's a little bit delayed. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. All right, we'll keep on trucking here. So upsert a document. We don't really explain what upsert is, which that's kind of a foreign concept if you've not used like a document database before. So maybe just like one sentence on what upsert means. And the other thing here is it says my dash document. This should probably be a little more descriptive, like maybe my dash document dash ID. If I could type, switch my document. Can't type. To my document dash ID or my document key. Probably key would make more sense. Let me blow up the text here a little bit so you can see. These are the notes that I'm writing to go back and go over this again. Okay, name equals Ted, age equals 31. Okay, fine. Get result. We don't actually use the result until, well, down here we do. You can also perform a nickel query at the cluster level. Man, there it goes again. Well, I don't know what else I can really do about it. Nickel query, the cluster level. It should be you can learn more about nickel queries on the query page. Where does this go? Nickel queries from the SDK. Okay, fine. Other services work very similar to the two shown above. Please refer to their respective documentation sections to learn more. Wouldn't it be better to link those here? Reword and link. Full example. If you want to copy and paste to run the full example, here it is. Okay, so this is something I definitely want to try, is copying and pasting the full example. So, over here in delete me, I'm going to say .NET new. I think that gives me a command line, right? Oh, no, it's .NET new what? Console. Okay, inside a program, And I'm going to go back to the docs here, and copy and paste this whole thing. Now it's not going to find Couchbase because I didn't install it yet. What is it? .NET. What is it? .NET. Well, it's on NuGet, right? I go to this NuGet page. I don't remember the exact command for it. .NET add package. Here. Okay, there we go. All right. Localhost. Now, do I have localhost running? I have. Oh, what is that? Oh, something I was experimenting with earlier. Interesting. Let's remove that. Okay, so I've got 6.5.0 Enterprise, which is fine for testing purposes. Let me just see if I have travel sample in there. I'm pretty sure I do. Travel sample, okay, good. That's what this is going for, right? Travel sample. No, it says bucket name. Yeah, this should be travel sample probably. Where is that at? That's an example right here. Why wouldn't it be travel sample? Oh, shoot. Travel sample. This is the actual program. I guess I could try this too. This has got all these notations in there though. Okay, let's go back to here. And we're here. Travel sample. Although none of this is really using any travel sample data. We're just inserting new data and then running this query, which is not travel sample. It's not selecting anything of travel sample. But anyway, let's go. .NET run. Is .NET run? Start. I can never remember. Type or namespace definition or end of file expected. Huh? Yep, there's a stray. Yeah. I kind of noticed this. This little stray curly brace here. Why is that there? So let's take a look at the, here we go. Full example. Oh, so this is just pasted in there. So this just needs to come out. Okay. All right, so that just needs to come out. Got an exception. Cannot authenticate, reason authentication error. Oh, because this isn't username and password. Administrator, password. Okay, there we go. That works. Fine. Okay. The API references generated for each release and can be found here. You know, I always hate links that are here. That are literally the word here. So that needs to be improved. Why is that syntax looking like that? That's weird. I mean, I'd rather this be API reference, be the link itself, right? So the API reference is generated for each release. Older API references are linked from their respective sections in the release notes. This is just commented out. Apparently that hasn't been finished yet. Couchbase welcomes community contributions to the .NET SDK. SDK source code is available on GitHub. It was already linked up here, right? Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Hey, thank you for the follow. GoEdDeck. GoEdDeck? GoEdDeck. One of those three. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. There's some more of these here's up here. Seems like collections could be removed entirely on this page. The only thing it's there for is because with the .NET 3.0 SDK, you have to say default collection. You have to specify a collection. So collections actually used here, right? So even though we're not using any features of collection, it's still something we need to kind of mention, because otherwise it's like, what does a collection mean? Why is this there? Why do I have to do this collection thing? So yeah, but I think definitely could be cut down for sure. Something like that. Yeah, I think it could be trimmed down, definitely. Okay. All right, so that program otherwise runs correctly, so that's good. So even if I just skip down here and copy and paste this, with the exception of this little fix that I made, change API. Well, that's well, buddy. Okay, I mean there's SDK RFCs for that kind of stuff. But I mean, how would you prefer the API looks? I guess that's really the trick there. Couchbase SDK RFCs. These are also public. If you're not familiar with these, I don't really have any ability to change the APIs, but if you want to influence them, this is a great place. This is where all the RFCs are posted by the SDK team, and this is the place you want to go to suggest changes or submit issues to it, and so on, right? Now, it's mostly the SDK team who's using this, right? But it is a public RFC. You can definitely use this. So I would recommend going here. And, of course, the Gitter channel. You can also make a comment there. Matt's not a coder anymore. How dare you, Calvin? I'm not on the SDK team, so I don't have a huge amount of control or input on how they build the SDKs. That's another thing you need to think about is it's not just .NET SDK, right? There's also Java and Node, all those other things, and they want to make those as consistent as possible with each other, while still taking advantage of the various idioms of each language, right? So there's always that kind of constraint as well. But anyway, so if you're interested in SDK input and really wanting to change the API or having an effect on the API, this is one place you can go. And certainly the Gitter channel is a way you can talk to a lot of the SDK developers, hang out in there, answer questions, and can discuss their reasoning and whatnot. All right, so where was I? RFCs, okay. Additional resources. This seems kind of superfluous as well, because they're already linked to GitHub at the beginning. So I'm just going to straight up remove that. But I do want to change all these here links as well. Zip file. So what's in the zip file? This is beta 2. I think that's wrong as well. Let's look in that zip file. It's not beta 2 anymore, by the way. I'm sure it's still available, but what's in the beta 2? Is it just a DLL file? It's a new package. Interesting. Okay, but I know we're on 3.0, right? So is there a 3.0 package? That's kind of just goes to show that I don't think anyone uses these, because, well, that one's not available. That, I mean, because that's there's no way that's up to date, right? Yeah, that's a problem. I'm gonna leave that the way it is for now, but I definitely need to figure out what's going on with that. And then certainly you can build from source, build a library from source. Source available on GitHub. All right, so that's what I want it to look like over here. You know, I always like to make the links be descriptive more than just like here or go, things like that. Of course, this zip file thing, I just don't know about that. I mean, I know that 3.0 beta 2 is an old version of a beta, and we actually have releases. So that needs to change. Okay. All right, so I've gone through the whole thing, so let's go back through my notes. So link to installing Couchbase. All right. So probably need to install Couchbase before you use the SDK, right? That just makes sense. Is a complete rewrite of the API, complete rewrite of the API, complete rewrite of the 2.0 API. Would that be fair? J.R. Lawthorne, I take all travel sample refs out of it, go all the way through create a bucket, KV, and nickel crud. Should be a separate document on installing. Yeah, I agree. It should be a separate document. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to link to that, right? Well, so we've got some other documents we've done where you go through and create a bucket, but and the KV and nickel crud, I don't know if there's if you're gonna do crud, all the crud with nickel. I don't know. That seems a bit overkill for this. I mean, this is more about just getting started. You know, you're actually using the SDK, and there's links to the other KV methods on there. There's links to the other nickel on there. But basically, yeah, we want to make sure you understand how to use KV like an upsert, and how to use nickel to do a query. And beyond that, you know, you can keep exploring the other CRUD methods, the nickel query options. Otherwise, I think we kind of go down a rabbit hole here, and it becomes a really long document of all the 4 or 5 different types of KV operations and the 4 or 5 types of nickel queries you can run, and that's probably too much. Where was I? Oh yeah. So this is a weird sentence right here. The .NET SDK 3.0 is a complete rewrite of the API. What API? And why does that matter? What they're trying to say here is that if you're familiar with .NET SDK 2.0, this is going to be very different. That's what they're trying to say. So I mean, they're kind of hyping it up and saying, yeah, you got collections and scopes, and a reduced surface area, simplified surface area, a lot fewer overloads. Those are all good things. But if you're coming here for the first time, why does that? If I've never used Couchbase before, why does it matter that it's a rewrite of the API? Would it be fair to say completely different API compared to .NET SDK 2.0? Would that make more sense? The .NET SDK 3.0 is a completely different API compared to .NET SDK 2.0, reducing the number of overloads to present a simplified surface area and adding support for future Couchbase server features like collections and scopes, available in Couchbase Server 6.5 as a developer preview. The API is now fully asynchronous. If you're using 2.x, you won't be reading this document likely. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. You know, so So does this even need to be in here? Every time I take a big red pen to stuff, I'd feel like it just reduces the chances of this being smoothly merged. That belongs in a transition upgrade guide. Yes, and as you can see, there's commented out this migration guide they're working on from SDK 2 to 3. It's commented out, I assume, because it's not finished yet. But yes, I think that's a very good point. So I think I'll just take it out. Okay, SDK is written in C#, and some of its idiomatic patterns reflect that choice. Yeah, so this is just a little comment for anyone who's using F# or VB, that hey, this is written in C#. That's probably why, if it looks weird to you in F# world, that's why it looks that way. Love it when a plan comes together. Hello, TBD Gamer. Thanks for joining today. Good to see you. That's the announcement video, the fanfare video that Calvin foregoed by chatting before I officially started the stream. That's okay. It's good to see you, TBD Gamer. Thanks for coming in, hanging out. I'm going through some documentation today. You know, it's something that is very important, but not always super exciting, right? Is documentation. Yes, Calvin played the trivia. You don't have to write your answers in the chat. It's completely honor system, right? But yeah, no, I appreciate that, Calvin. It's just I mentioned it earlier, so I thought I would follow up on that comment. I don't know of a way to. I guess I could. I don't know. It require a lot more timing and more configuration to say don't consider that a chat message until I officially start the trivia. So sorry about that. Maybe I can make it a command that you enter to say, bang fanfare. Now play my video, and only allows you to do that once a day, something like that. I don't know, just a thought. Okay, it's all good. It's all good, Holmes. All right. Couchbase .NET SDK targets .NET Standard 2, which in turn supports .NET Framework 4.6.2 and .NET Core, blah, 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 blah. Library is distributed in a number of ways. I don't think zip really needs to be in here. I mean, how common is it these days for you to download a .NET package via zip file? Unless that's the only way you can do it. I think NuGet's also cased wrong. Yeah, NuGet's cased wrong. Never. Yeah, I agree. There's probably some people out there who, for whatever reason, are not allowed to use NuGet. I feel bad for them. Zip files can go away. I ain't care. Yeah, I don't know. It's just and it says recommended, right? And this is out of date, so I just need to make a note of that. Unless you don't have web access on your dev environment. What? Don't have web access on your development environment? Well, how would you be getting to this documentation page? How would you be doing anything, really? Here, develop this, but tie both your arms behind your back. Yeah, I know, I agree. And I used to code in the pre-NuGet days, and so I remember how awful that was, having to debates about do you check in DLLs into source control and nonsense like that. And thankfully that war is over. But I feel like there's definitely people out there who are in those both arms behind your back situation. And we're trying to be helpful, but this is kind of counterproductive because it's an old version. I don't know where the new version is. Like, it should be 3.0.1 or 3.0.2, and who comes in here and updates this every time there's a minor version bump, right? It's a no bueno. I don't like it. But I want to remove it. So, but I need to raise this issue. Some government sector environments don't have access to the web. They wget sites like this and host them internally, spoofing the DNS. Oh, I see. Ugh. I guess I don't see how that adds any security or whatever, but I suppose it's possible. So I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm just going to raise the issue of, hey, this is not super useful to have zip files. No one really cares, and it's an out-of-date zip file anyway. This is the beta 2 version. Okay. Build from source. Again, most people are not going to go there, but it's nice to have a link to the source code if you want to submit a PR or look at the issues, things like that. Or maybe you do want to build your own version for a, I don't know, certain CPU or something. Who knows? Your own custom fork of it. I can see that being way more useful than a zip file. Anywho, so in VS Code, so I wanted to remove this VS Code stuff. I mean, just because yeah, VS Code or Visual Studio, right? You can still use NuGet. Either one. Why are we calling out VS Code specifically when we haven't created a project yet? Gives devs access to the docs, but not to the web. Their network isn't connected to the web at all. Yeah, I guess so. I could see offline access, but yeah, it's not really the docs team job to host the binaries, right? I don't know. I could see in that situation you could have your own NuGet server, right? That's one of the things you can do with NuGet. Run your own server, and you can only get packages from that approved list of stuff. So you wouldn't have ever access to NuGet.org. You'd have access to CIA NuGet server, for instance. Not a good reason to have it on a getting started page. Yeah, I'm really leaning towards getting rid of it, but I'm not going to submit that in my first PR. In VS Code, with the NuGet Package Manager extension, which I don't know if you even need anymore, open the command palette and type NuGet. Okay. So this seems like we're getting ahead of ourselves. All right. So start a new project. Visual Studio or VS Code, etc. Because there could also be Writer in here, right? Or Visual Studio Code for Mac or whatever else. Install. Yeah, too much to tell them how to install a NuGet package. I think one sentence is not too bad. Install the NuGet package. Yay, Writer. Yeah, I'm not going to call it Writer here, but it's something that could be being used out there. Install the NuGet package. Install the latest 3.0 Couchbase Net Client NuGet package. And then this is what it's saying. The following code samples assume a username with permissions to access the cluster, typically the application access role. That may be, I don't know, that's fine. It assumes a little more than that, though. It assumes that Couchbase has been installed, right? So let's maybe make this a list, prerequisites. A username with permissions to access the cluster, to the access role. Of course, Couchbase server is installed and accessible locally. Couchbase server can be installed in a variety of ways. And that would be a good place to find a link show how to install Couchbase. This is Java. No, I don't want Java. I want server. Server. Getting started. Here's a start here. Do a quick install. This is Docker based. That's fine. Let's go to that, I guess. It would be current. Okay, but that's not how the link's going to look. Well, maybe instead of saying install in a variety of ways, maybe do a quick install, because that's what the page is named. And that's a cross ref, right? So it is something like server. Getting started. Do a quick install. Something like that. Over here, so let's zoom in a little bit. Couchbase server is installed and accessible locally. Do a quick install if you don't already have Couchbase installed. Couchbase server installed. How does that look? Couchbase server is installed and accessible locally. Do a quick install if you don't already have Couchbase server installed. That seems to make sense to me. A user named username with permissions to access the cluster. Typically, the access you have created a user named Couchbase user named username with permissions to access the cluster. At least the application's access role. Now, this is something, that application's access role is something that's only Enterprise Edition, right? So I think I might want to just remove that, right? Because if I'm in Community Edition, that's confusing to me. Like, what does application access role mean? I don't know what that means. I don't see that anywhere in Couchbase, so I'm just going to remove that. Okay, of course you will need to have a few using statements. Okay, and of course you need them. That's fine, I guess. Using statements, so that how that's going to look is, you can't really see them here, but right here. Maybe even start a new console project would be fine there. Using statements at the top of program.cs in your console program. Okay, and then you can connect to the cluster. Say start. Whatever. I'm not going to monkey with the wording too much. Then you can connect to the cluster. That's fine. Now the way that looks is right here. Cluster equals await. Cluster connect. Blah blah blah. Okay, fine. Couchbase uses role-based access control to control access to resources. I think this is still worth linking to. However, this is probably beyond the scope of what I'm being asked to do. When you go to this page, it's old, so I did change that, but it's also very enterprise focused. Oh, well, there's a few. Okay, maybe not. Maybe it's better now. Right, so this role is available in the Community Edition of Couchbase Server. Is it really? Application access? I'm not sure I believe that. So I'm going to stop DB650 Enterprise. And do I have a CE version somewhere? Docker start CE 6-5. If that is the case, then it's not necessarily confusing to list that permission there. Security, add user. Oh, okay. Yeah, it is application access. Oh, okay. That's good. That's good. Okay. This is the community version. You can see there's still role-based access, but it's a lot more limited. It's a lot less fine-grained in here, right, than an enterprise edition. So that's fine. Okay. At least application access. You need to have a few using statements at the top of the program. Okay, connect your cluster. Couchbase uses blah, blah, blah. If you're developing client code on the same VM or machine as the Couchbase server, your URI, I mean, do we need to say VM or machine? Can it just be same machine? And we can sort of imply VM is there as well. I don't know. Seems to be a little redundant. If you're developing client code on the same machine as the Couchbase server, your URI can be Couchbase : / localhost. Then open the bucket. Well, J.R. Lawthorne says localhost. What do you mean by that comment? Localhost. Okay. Get a bucket reference. That's how it looks. It's even got the comment in there. Okay, and this says bucket name again, which I have changed it to no longer say bucket name. Oh, here's a little. If you install the travel sample bucket, substitute travel sample for bucket name. Maybe that's another prerequisite here. You have created a bucket named bucket name. You've created a bucket. Why would I call my bucket name though? You have created a bucket, perhaps travel, perhaps using the travel sample data set, or you've signal to noise ratio in these docs need to be as high as possible. No, I agree. So you're saying just drop out the VM there? Perhaps using the travel sample data set, or create a bucket with, or create a new bucket. And then I think a link to the travel sample data set in the docs would be good there. Travel sample. Sample buckets. Installing sample buckets. Yep, this will be good. This will be xref again. And we're going to take it down to server, :manage, manage settings, install sample buckets. Perhaps using the travel sample dataset or by creating a new bucket. How's that? You have created a Couchbase user named username with permissions to access the cluster, at least application access. At least application access permissions. Okay. All right. What else? So I've removed the VS Code stuff. Linked travel sample buckets. All right. So this says if you install travel sample data bucket, substitute travel sample for bucket name. I could say like substitutes. Yeah, and I changed this in the code, didn't I? Let me go back and change that back to bucket name, because there is nothing travel sample specific about this code. If you substitute, oh gosh, whatever bucket name you want for bucket name in the above example. And it's got this, well, it's using it underscore for italics. Okay, that's fine. 3.0 SDK is ready for the introduction of collections and upcoming release. Covers the whole bucket and must be used when connecting 6.5 cluster or earlier. Yeah, this is just kind of that weird in between. We're in between, major releases of Couchbase right now, and this is something that we need to mention because you're going to have to use default collection, but we're not going to go into it much further than that. And there's a link to it if you want to explore that further. Okay, start using. Okay, KV operations are described in detail. Okay, this is where I want to remove some of this KV stuff. Key value CRUD operations are described in detail on the KV operations page. And I want to, what do I want to do? I wanted to, put this note in here. Replace that note. All key value CRUD operations. Yeah, so I can skip this now, you know the basic stuff. To get you started, the following code creates a new document and then fetches it again, printing the result. What? Yeah, and then there's this note kind of in between there. So I want to move that down here. So this includes upsert and get. Upsert and get are two. Well, let's see. I want to convey that upsert and get are only a subset of all the KV operations. There's also insert, replace, delete, and there's a few other gets, I think. Other key value CRUD operations are described in detail. Other possible key value CRUD operations are described in detail on the KV operations page. You can also perform a nickel query at the cluster level. Now the example query they've got here is one that doesn't actually query any data. It's just a select that returns a string and nothing else, which is fine. Because we don't want to go into in depth on nickel here. We want to link it off someplace else, but one thing I think it's fine. Let's see. You can also perform nickel query at the it's not at the cluster level, but say with the cluster object, I think. J.R. Lawthorne, no, it needs to select data. The problem with that is that we have to talk about indexes. We have to make sure the data is in there, that we want it selected out. It adds more to it, right? And we want to keep this really, really slim. There's plenty of other places where we go through that. There's other, actually I can maybe show you some of these here. There's other places where we go through these bootstrap exercises that are a little more detailed. So like here's the ASP.NET Core first query, where we go through and show all the different screenshots from ASP.NET. And this is one that I wrote. It's a lot more complex example, creating a document, doing some modeling, things like that. What should the user be able to do when they're finished reading this? Basically, all they really need to do is just make sure they can compile and connect to a Couchbase cluster, and that's working. It's the very, very basics, right? This little sample, they should be able to run and understand each part of this sample. That's really it. And if they want to get into more complex stuff, we've got more complex stuff for them. So maybe even linking off to one of these developer bootstrap tutorials might be good. Although, yeah, then go and watch a Pluralsight course. Yeah, plop down some Pluralsight money. No, so these bootstraps right now are just kind of in a holding pattern as well. We want to eventually, at the end of this, we probably want to have them say, if you want to do some more advanced stuff, go over to these bootstraps, these quick starts that walk you through the whole thing. But they're more specific. This one is ASP.NET, right? So there's dependency injection, and configuration, and controllers, and all those sorts of things in here. And then there's a link to Couchbase example, which is it's a console app, but it's focused on Link and how to use Link, the link provider, to do a similar sort of operation. You're going to put some data in and query it back out. So this is probably more along the lines of where you're trying to look for, JR. But this is more of a quick start, like just the bare minimum sort of thing. Is that, as I understand it anyway. And all of my feedback could be completely ignored here, right? So, but yeah, this is just, I've just been asked to go through here and try to validate this and make sure everything works. And what we don't want is if we had some situations where, there's just some pieces missing, or like right here, there's some syntax error. In your opinion, this doc needs a little more. The other doc has a bit too much. Okay. Oh gosh. What? So, I mean, do you feel like you could get in there and take a fork of this and take a crack at it and say, I think this should be added here, I think this should be added here, that sort of thing? Because I mean, I would love to see like your thoughts on making this quick start a lot easier from top to bottom. I think that'd be great. All right, and this is going to go through some more reviews, by the way. This is not just me making these changes and it's going to go right to production. We get some reviews from the docs team and maybe some people on the SDK team to check it out. All right, what else? KV operations. Move that down to the notes. Where was that? That was a note right here. Okay, nickel query. Your objection has been duly noted, JR, and it's something I'm going to. Is there a good doc on how to work with the docs? Yes, there is. So I mean, you can just edit it directly in GitHub. However, there is a improve the docs link right here. So there you go. I think that's this is more about reporting bugs and stuff, but there's also like you can set up an ASCII doc editor and all this other kind of stuff if you want to do the whole, like if you want to get really deep into it. I've just forked it and I'm just using Visual Studio Code. So some of the things that are not available to me, like the more in-depth, like cross-reference type stuff, is not there. It's not going to be rendered. But I don't necessarily want to go through every single one of these setup steps here to start getting involved. So it can be as easy as just going to GitHub and making changes in the text, or opening a ticket and say, I think they should have this, this, and this. And that would be tremendously welcome feedback, honestly. What was that? Hang on a second. All right, something just crashed. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to put on a little trivia for you while I go check that out, okay? I'll be right back. All right, everything's fine. False alarm, I guess. Is this the first question? First Apple computer sold. What year? I don't think that's right, TBD Gamer. I think it is actually 1976. Okay. All right, so I'm back. Sorry about that. All right. So you can go through all this stuff that guide I sent you, Jr. If you want to check that out and get that up and running. But it doesn't. You don't have to do that. You can just do simple stuff with GitHub or even Visual Studio, and that would be still very much appreciated. Okay. All right. So I also made a note, one sentence on what upsert means. So where would that be appropriate? Again, I just wanted to be really, really slim here. So we've got creates a new document. Enable code spaces. Enable code spaces. Code spaces. I know we talked about this before, Calvin. What's a code space? What is it? What is a code space? Cloud-powered development environments for any activity. Oh, yeah. Isn't this the new name for Visual Studio Online or something? Did you not watch Build? No, I didn't watch Build, TBD Gamer. I couldn't get away to watch Build. Any of it, really. But the code spaces are pre-build, though. Pretty sure. The GitHub version. GitHub code spaces. That's another thing, right? Yeah. I remember this now. Okay. Upsert document is... So this is after the fetching it again. Right, okay. So in this same note, it might be useful to say, and this is actually, I think what I can do is like this, right? Is that how? How do I do a note in ASCII doc? Like a block of a note. ASCII doc, quick reference. JR, did you sign up for, during that survey we did, we asked for people, volunteers, to kind of work through some of the documentation with the docs team, and that was going to be like a paid engagement as well. Because I think you did, and I think I might have put you on the list for that. So you can lend your expertise and get a little something for it. Oh, I just missed it. Where was it? Yes, this is what I want. Don't recall that. I can fork it. Well, so the idea was they had some documentation specifically around .NET SDK, or around SDK 3. Not just .NET, SDK 3. And the idea was to kind of observe someone try to use the documentation, what kind of problems they ran into. Like a usability test, basically. It was a live interaction. Ooh, bounty. I'll only require 1/2 the most recent funding round. Yikers. That's a lot. We just, if you don't know what he's talking about, Couchbase just announced today we've got a round of funding, which that's a little bit above like the stuff I understand or know about. But it's an up round of funding, which is always a good thing. But it's an up round of funding in the middle of, unprecedented economic times, which seems to be even more interesting that we're able to do this right smack in the middle of all these things happening. So I think that says everyone seems to think this is a good thing. I'm not a finance guy. I took some finance classes, but I don't understand the whole VC thing and investments and that kind of stuff. Time to ask for a raise. Yeah, right. I don't think it's time to ask for a raise. And which, by the way, Couchbase is already very generous, in my opinion anyway, with my salary and benefits. So we're still hiring. Couchbase.com/careers. So yeah, I don't plan to do that. But yeah, it's good. I guess it's good. I don't know, but no, you're not going to get half of our funding round for helping with Docs, JR. But I think it does mean we certainly can give you. It's not a bounty per se. It's just kind of a token of appreciation for you and others who are helping us out. Calvin's applied 12 times. What have you applied for, Calvin? Couchbase.com/careers. Now, I will say, since stay-at-home orders, the types of positions that have opened have changed a lot, right? But yeah, here's a list of stuff we're still hiring for. As far as I know, these are all still open recs. I don't know if the process has changed or slower or whatnot, but these are a bunch of openings. And right now everything's remote, of course. But I'm guessing for some of these like pre-sales positions, those are probably going to be a lot more regional focused. But not all of them. You don't remember now. It's been across the last couple of years altogether. You're from Manchester. No way, TBD Gamer. We have our biggest office is in San Jose, but our second biggest office is in Manchester. Couchbase European headquarters, I guess you could call it. You're from there. Do you actually still live there? We have a lot of people in Manchester. A lot. Oh, you live in New Jersey. Okay. So, but anyway, if you ever go back to Manchester, we've got an office there. Lots of positions open. And you're in New Jersey, so probably New York. There's an SE position open. That's a regional type position. And there's one that's labeled remote. Everything is remote right now. So I wouldn't discount any of these, except for if it's like some of these. If you're looking for like a solutions engineer position, those are a lot more regional, right? So if it says Chicago, that probably means they want you to be close to Chicago. Yep, funding round was 105 million, which is. I was with Couchbase during the last round of funding. Was like 30 million, something like that. So it's a much higher round of funding. And yeah, I don't know much else, the details, besides what they've said in the press release. And they've said a few things internally, but I don't really want to talk about those. I don't want to get myself in trouble. But yeah, so from what I know, it's a good sign. Everyone seems to be happy and proud of it. And where are they going to invest it? Well, based on the press release, right? Where is the press release at? Anyway, they had a few. Was it on the blog yet? Oh shoot! It was on TechCrunch, I think. Right? Yeah, here it is. They had a few things they didn't specifically say, but the Couchbase Cloud, I think, is going to be a big part of it. Yeah, build new features for server, mobile platform, and cloud. This is the offering that's about to go public. I don't have an exact date. I'm not making any promises or guarantees, but that's coming soon. That's the DBaaS, the completely managed Couchbase Cloud. That will be out soon. So I'm guessing a lot of that. You needs the cloud. Gotta have the cloud. And this is one that I found interesting. Continue to expand geographically, service global customer operations. So we've got customers in like every major part of the world, I think, except for Antarctica. But there's some parts of the world we don't have a huge presence in, as far as I know. So maybe that's what they're thinking about as well. So I don't know. It's way above my pay grade. Like there's like Matt Kane, who's like the CEO of Couchbase, and then there's like 30 levels, and then there's Matt Groves. So that's about how it works. Create a VS Code plugin to get those Mongo guys. I think a VS Code plugin is something we've certainly talked about internally, but we are, despite this round of funding, we are still very much a small business. And, don't want to spread yourselves too thin, right? If you create a VS Code plugin, then you got to provide support for the VS Code plugin, updates, and all those sorts of things, and documentation. And those things all require more and more resources. So, got to be careful about what you build. Chat is so delayed, it makes some things awkward. Yeah, I think it's, I don't know. I'm still getting these. It's 10% over the last 2.5 minutes. Hire me, I'll do it. Hey, Calvin, I am all for it. I'm all for you joining Couchbase. I'm all for building a VS Code plugin, but I am not CEO. I'm not a product manager. I am just a lowly developer advocate trying to make things slightly easier for the developers. That's all I'm trying to do. Just trying to make things easier and raise awareness about Couchbase and how great it is. If I can do a little bit of that, then I think it's doing my job. That 105 million will be a little low, but I'll take it. Yeah, I think we should give the whole 105 million to Calvin to make a VS Code plugin. That seems like a really good business decision. Develop it, Calvin Allen, on stream, then attach to your application to work there. I think that would certainly help. That would be impressive in an application, a job application. Calvin, by the way, Calvin has worked on a Couchbase plugin for Visual Studio in the past. We didn't get very far with it. I think I helped him out a little bit here and there. We didn't get very far with it, but yeah, go for it. I think it'd be great. One other thing that we've talked about is, I don't know, does anyone use these? Is Visual Studio 255768. What is that? Is that one of your 2FA codes or something? Quick, everybody hack TBD. Try every bank account. VS Code want to be easier. Yeah, I think VS Code probably has a little easier to develop for sort of plugin architecture. If you can figure out what the number is for, you can all have it. I'll bet it's Twitch. Quick, everybody log in to Twitch. Use this TFA. Guess his password. Where do you go to find templates, Calvin, for Visual Studio? Visual Studio templates, like a marketplace sort of thing, right? You've got a ticket for writer. What does that mean? You've got a ticker for writer, ticket. What's a ticket for writer? Yeah, you can get all those sub dollars. Those sub dollars. Not extensions, but templates, like new project sort of templates. You use writer, huh? Writer's good, yeah. Calvin's, I think, has been using it more, and we talk about it on the podcast. I like to bring it up because they're doing some cool stuff with it. Marketplace. You know what? I bet I have a link somewhere over in my Slack. Where is it? It is Marketplace. Oh, Visual Studio. Okay. But let's search for Couchbase here. Yeah, okay, so these aren't extensions, but they are, so like this guy here, Arun Vijayaraghavan. It's a boilerplate for a repository pattern, C#, right? And it's a Couchbase example of it. He's done a few of these, right? And CData has some in here too, because they have some Couchbase adapters and things. So if you want to build some of these, Calvin, these would be really cool as well. These might be, I've never built one of these myself, so I don't know, like, how do you build these? How do you submit them? Go through that process. But just like a template of like, here's how you do a basic like ASP.NET Web API project using link to Couchbase or using Couchbase.NET SDK, something like that. Data grip. Yeah, data grip's like JetBrains tool for working with databases. It is not just relational. It is mostly relational, and I think they can connect to Mongo, and maybe a few others. Let's see. Yeah, here's a list of databases. So these are mostly relational. Cassandra's in here. I think Snowflake is relational. So, but Cassandra's in here. I don't know what they mean by Azure. That could mean a number of things. I thought there was Mongo. Yeah, there's Mongo. And there's a few others that are not relational, strictly speaking, that are in there. But yeah, think of it kind of like, I don't know, like Management Studio. Yeah, like Calvin's saying right there, SSMS, but for a variety of different databases. There's one I use called Heidi SQL. This is not nearly the same thing. This is an open source tool that can connect to Maria or SQL Server or Postgres or MySQL. So it's kind of like that. It's just a tool you can work with to browse databases and help build commands, things like that. Azure SQL, yeah, that's what EasyUp is built with, is Azure SQL, but this just says Azure, right? So I don't know. Well, you have used Heidi. Yeah, I haven't found anybody that's used Heidi except for me. So that's cool. There's another Heidi user out there. I actually used Heidi back in the EasyUp days when I was building with PHP and MySQL. I use Heidi to connect to it and do my pretend to be a DBA stuff. Okay. Anyway, where were we? Okay. Yeah, I think this is probably good. Other possible key value CRUD operations are described in detail. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay. That's what I'm saying. When they say Azure, that's what they mean. Oh, okay. You are saying they mean Azure SQL. Okay, got it. I should come back to PHP, JR. It does miss me, and I miss it. Just hasn't been top priority for me, unfortunately, is to get into PHP. I'm probably the only one I know I'm the only one on the DA team that has any sort of PHP experience, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But I'm certainly the only one that actually likes PHP. Maybe in the whole company, unfortunately. We have a few people who develop PHP, but probably very few people who will claim publicly that they like to use PHP, and I'm one of them. Yeah, I am a defender. I never understood why people get so up in arms about it. He needs some help with the Laravel Couchbase extension. Yeah. Hey, if you do you have a project for that somewhere? GitHub repo? Because I could add that to our newsletter. I'm working on the newsletter content right now, the Couchbase newsletter. If you want me to put up a bat signal, I don't know if it's going to help or not, but put up a bat signal to say, hey, working with Laravel? Go help out my friend J.R. Lawhorn. I can't even say my friend's name right. Go help out J.R. with his Laravel extension. Or go check out, see what he's done so far. It's mostly in place, just testing and tweaking. If you have a GitHub repo or something, I would love to highlight it and promote it and point to it. And we have an internal channel that we like to send around links from cool stuff that is done by the community in Couchbase that can get sucked into the newsletter and can even hopefully go into stuff like social media at some point. So I would love to know more information about that. It's a fork that's updated. Last month. Well, this is very active. Fieldstone software. Oh, cool. So it's forked from... I've heard of this one. I don't think I've seen your fork yet. Using it for a live project needs some, hey, doc updates. Don't they all? Don't we always need that? I'm going to put this right now into our channel. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but Laravel extension for Couchbase. Cool. Thank you for that, JR. Appreciate that. Very cool stuff going here. I'm going to have to try it one of these days. Are you happen to be developing on Windows? Or are you developing on Mac or Linux? Because what I would like to do, sometime in the future, is if you're doing this on Windows especially, is just come on the stream as a guest and walk me through it. Show me how Laravel works. Oh, you're doing it on Mac? Okay, well, we can maybe still make it work. Because I have some problems kind of getting started with PHP and Windows, and the Couchbase DLLs. Like, it never seems to cooperate with me. But I'd love to have you on to just sort of walk through Laravel and how your extension works and sort of talk through it. I think that'd be a great live stream, if you're up for it. It doesn't have to be, right now or even next week, right? It can be somewhere down the road, but just keep that in mind. I like to focus on that at some point. Get some PHP going. Okay. All right. Nickel query. So I'm not going to do a one sentence on upsert. I'm just going to say, I'm just going to say, hey, go check out the other operations here. Nickel query. You can learn about nickel queries, this page right here. So this whole thing with other services, you'd enjoy that, have to prepare a bit. Yeah, I think that'd be great. I think that'd be absolutely great. I did it with Eric Burchard, who's my teammate. We walked me through like a React, what's it called? Apollo, GraphQL example, and I found it very informative. I'm not a GraphQL expert by far, but at least I have a better idea of kind of how it works, the nuts and bolts of GraphQL, and some of the benefits to it. I'm not as on fire for GraphQL as he is, at least not yet, but I feel like I'm more educated about it, and I'd like to feel the same way about Laravel, Couchbase with Laravel, PHP in general, and I'd certainly love to learn more about your work there and maybe figure out how I could help. Right. So this stuff right here, I feel like we're talking about analytics, search, and views. It just kind of mentions it, doesn't link to them. Do you think it's worthwhile to link to them here, or just omit this part? And just say, if you want to use analytics, just omit this and say, yeah, when you get to the analytics, you'll look for those areas in the doc specifically. Or should we call it out here? Views, I don't think we want to call it at all. But search or analytics, I don't know. Leave it out, just completely cut. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. Okay, and okay. So instead of my document, I want this to be. Where else was that? It was over here. My document. Okay, I want.
Bing, bada, boom.
Hey, the Betsy Weber? No way. Is that the Betsy Weber? Great to have you here, Betsy Weber. If that's the same Betsy Weber, and I'm guessing it probably is, she is the fantastic Betsy Weber from Microsoft. Let's just do incognito. I don't want to expose anything. LinkedIn Betsy Weber. So I want to get her title right. Betsy Weber, LinkedIn. This is her right here. The great Betsy Weber, which I am totally missing, not seeing her at the MVP Summit this year. You're writing my review right now. Oh no! Oh no! Everybody, tell Betsy how great I am so I can get my MVP renewed. No, but she is tech advocate, community leader, and product manager. I'd say that's the least of what she is. She is something with the MVP. What do you call it? Field Community Program Manager, something like that. Yes, she's great. She's absolutely great. She's been with not Couchbase, with Microsoft for a while, helping with the MVP program, and she is my I don't know, what do you call it? Like, not who I report to, but like there's different MVP groups and regions, and she's like the head of my region. Fantastic. Oh, thank you so much, Betsy. I appreciate that. Not as awesome as you, clearly. I remember back in the day, right here, when she was tech evangelist at TechSmith, which, I mean, that's how far back I remember Betsy. She probably doesn't remember me from back in those days, but I remember her working at TechSmith, which at the time she was in Michigan, I believe, right? And so I think we may have crossed paths at CodeMatch or something. But I still use TechSmith stuff to this day, right? Camtasia and Camtasia Studio is what I use to build my Pluralsight course with as well. She's not with them anymore, but I just thought I'd mention that because I just like Betsy. So there you go. Oh, here we go. Regional manager, audience evangelism. Yeah. Anyway, does great stuff. So give Betsy Weber a follow. I don't know if she does any streaming yet. But you should definitely give her a follow, give her a shout out. Of course, you remember me from CodeMash and more. Well, just because I'm a tall, goofy-looking guy. That's the only reason that people remember me, I think. Who's that, like, clumsy, tall goof? Oh, that's Matt Groves. All right. Okay, going back here. So this key, I feel like there could be a little bit. What's the word I'm looking for? A little bit. You don't stream yet. Okay. Maybe you'll start a coding and compiling with Yarn stream. Now, do you mean like actual Yarn? Or do you mean the package manager Yarn? Because I would love both of those. Oh, knitting. Okay. Yeah. I think that'd be great. There are a few team members of the live coders who do stuff like that. It's not. I don't think it's knitting. They might be knitting, but they're creating like physical like crafts and things, and they do it on the stream, and that's some cool stuff. So yeah, that'd be great. I used to do some like soldering and kit building and stuff like that on the stream. Haven't done it in a while. Ambiguous is the word I'm looking for. Like my document. This could be, I think, a little bit more descriptive. So what I want to do is I want to go in here, and wherever it says my document, I want to replace it with my document dash key so that it's clear that this is supposed to be a key. One thing I find kind of annoying about some of our documentation and our software is that some places it says ID, some places it says key. It's not as consistent as I'd like it to be. But we did say key value, KV, earlier in this doc. So I think saying key in there is going to be more descriptive and more useful. And do the same thing here with this code that's just pasted right in there. No. Okay, the other thing. There's some stuff in here that is maybe a little bit more verbose, I think, than it needs to be. Like, why is this query options in here? That's not required. It's just noise. That actually might be it. Yeah, so let's run that. See if that still works. Oh. Bootstrapping for a bucket failed. Did I? Wait. Oh. I think because I changed. Yeah, I don't have travel sample in here. All right. Settings, sample buckets, travel sample. I don't have enough data. Or don't have enough RAM. Okay, let's delete this one. I don't know why I built this cluster so small. Oh, I can bump it up probably. Okay, sample, travel sample. There we go. Yeah, you use key. Okay. Hey, Matt, did you watch Build? No, I didn't watch a single second of it. I've been busy doing other stuff. We've got something big we're working on here at Couchbase, so I haven't really had much time. I have been watching the links and stuff flow in because I am going to be recording a podcast with Calvin tonight, the big Microsoft Build special episode. And so we're going to be covering a lot of the big news stories that have come out for .NET and Azure and other related things. There is so much content to go over. There's so much. I've discussed this before. Like the whole shift to virtual conferences, I understand why we're doing it, of course. But to me, one of the things that got me going to conferences and user groups in the first place was the in-person interactions. It's a chance to kind of unplug and give your focus to just the conference, the people speaking at the conference, the people who are at the conference, and have that in-person experience. And so I've tried to go to a few of these virtual conferences, and I just find myself getting distracted and going back to work and just sort of dropping off, and it's just not the same experience for me. So, it's unfortunate. It's lousy that it has to be this way, but it's just the way it is. Even the live coders, I spent a lot of time on that one because I found it very much, because it's people who are presenting virtually every day, right? So they're a little more skilled at making this more interactive and more engaging. But even then, I couldn't watch every single session of the live coders. Calvin says, I'm much more introverted than you are, I think, and even I miss people. It's not so much, the whole introvert-extrovert thing, I don't know if I can really put myself in one bucket or the other, but I've worked from home for 10 years, all right? So I feel like there's lots of benefits of working like in my own house, my own office. But I feel like conferences are something that you cannot really do as well virtually. It's just, I haven't seen one done yet that rivals a in-person conference. Like the best virtual conference, I'd still rather go to a mediocre in-person conference. Maybe that makes me as an unpopular opinion, but the other thing is there's lots of positives to it as well. It's a little more accessible to people who can't normally afford to travel or can't normally, don't get enough time off work or anything to go to these conferences, right? So there's lots of benefits to it as well. It's just for me, it's not there as much. AJ 2017 agrees with me. In person is the best. Hope Code Mash is still in person. Whew, boy. Yeah, TBD Gamer. If you've never been to one, you're in New Jersey. That's not too far. You can make it to Code Mash if it's in person, and it'll be January of 2021. I assume. I don't have any insights about what they're planning. Right. I think in another month or two they usually get together. The board does and discuss the next event. But who knows? Who knows how long it's going to be until the next in-person events start to open up again. But yeah, Code Mash was my very first conference. No, it was not. It was my second conference ever. The first conference I went to was actually a usability conference, believe it or not. It was a Nielsen Norman Group conference. It was in Boston, which was incredibly eye-opening for a lot of reasons, but I think I'm going to use vacation time from now on to go to these things. Employer won't cover anything. Well, that's lousy. I will say, Code Mash, for the money it costs, it is incredibly good value. Now, that being said, getting a hotel room there can be a little pricey. It's a huge indoor water park with a resort and hotel attached. Getting rooms is hard enough, and then they're a little bit pricey. I mean, it's a great place, so I think it's totally worth it. But yeah, it can be a little challenging. But Code Mash would be great. Something closer to your area, TBD, is Tech Bash, which is also in a Kalahari. That's in the Pocono Manor in Pennsylvania. a little closer to you in New Jersey. Never been to a tech bash. I did submit to speak to it this year for the first time ever. Don't know if I'll be accepted or not. But some friends of mine, some acquaintances of mine run it. I think Alvin Ashcraft helps run it. Joe Kumerly, who used to live in Ohio, I think he helps to organize it, if I'm saying his name right. So that's another one that's just, again, probably, I've never been to it, but I'd say probably the bang for your buck is going to be pretty huge. As compared to like Microsoft Build, which is a great, great event, but it was free this year, which again is a nice little benefit of being virtual. It is normally not free; it's normally very expensive, and there's all kinds of huge events and buildings and food and sponsors and stuff that are part of that. So it's a very different event, much like MVP Summit. Stream crashed. It did? I'm seeing lots of dropped frames. For me, not everybody else. Oh, okay. All right. Well, weird. Build is a bucket list item at this point. Yeah, it's... I think I was probably going to be at Build this year. If the stuff hadn't happened. I might have been there this time. I'm not 100% sure on that. I might have been there this time. And NDC is a bucket list item for me. NDC Oslo. I'm going to be at that one, but not the in-person version. So we'll see how it goes.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Hello, Matt. This is a fine lockdown beard. Mine is only a week old and is really itchy. It's coming off tomorrow. Mine is really itchy today for some reason. I might need to trim it or something. Been scratching my face the whole stream if you haven't noticed. I keep saying mine's going to come off the very second I get into that cruise ship for the vacation that I booked that I've had to delay because of this. So that's what I've been saying. We'll see. All right. I feel like I've gotten off track here. I'm almost done, I think. So my document key. And, okay, yes, I remember now. I was here. There was that sort of options that wasn't really necessary. You won't match your passport photo. So you're saying I should shave it off before I even get on the... Well, the thing is... no, it would be a driver's license photo. I do have a passport. And since it's all domestic, I don't know if I need a passport. But you're saying I should shave it off before. I think I look close enough to my... I think more likely this area down here is not matching my passport photo. And this area down here. Snorkeling with a mustache is a no-go. Mask leaks. I am not into snorkeling. Keep it until the end of the cruise. Where are you cruising? Hopefully, knock on wood, I will be leaving Galveston for a Western Caribbean cruise in August. And, yeah, touch the bottom anyway. Who needs a snorkel? And then after that, in Thanksgiving, again, knock on wood, I will be leaving out of Miami for a Eastern Caribbean cruise on Disney that time. So Caribbean, then Disney, knock on wood. And in fact, Carnival has said that they are going to resume cruise service. Touch wood. Well, touch wood is a UK thing. I think we knock on wood around here. It's supposed to be living wood. Well, I don't have any living wood anywhere nearby. All I have is my desk. Close enough. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Carnival says, touch your head. Let's see if you can hear that. Sounds like an empty wooden noggin. Can't get out to a tree. Oh, boy. We've got a spammer here. Calvin, would you mind earning your mod status and give us a little bandskis on this guy? I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Calvin. That's like the first or second spammer ever. Appreciate that. That's cool. No, what I'm saying, Carnival announced when they're going to resume their cruise operations, and like our ship is one of the few. There's like 4 or 5. They're going to resume sailing, cruising, I guess, and like the very first cruise coming out of that port will be our ship. So I could be on the news. They could be interviewing me. Excuse me, sir. Can you tell us why you're so crazy enough to get on this boat and there's still a pandemic going on? So look for me on the news. Yeah, it might be /ban. Yeah, there's a /ban, username, and then reason. So there you go. Thank you, Kelvin. All right, so let's just try this again. Because I took out some of the extra code in there that wasn't necessary. Okay, so that's fine. I can just get rid of that. It's just noise. It's this stuff right here. This query options object that has no options set in it. Do you have the mod page up, Calvin Allen? Yeah, like the mod view of the channel. Okay, so that's good. I'm going over time here, so thank you all for hanging out with me. I think I've got through my list here. So the only thing I have left is the thing with the zip file. I need to raise that issue as a possible problem with this page in general. I'm not going to remove it, but I'm just going to raise that issue. But I think I've made some improvements, enough to get a conversation going at least. So I'm going to submit a pull request for that. But you don't have to stick around for that. What I'm going to do now is we're going to go and find another team member to raid, perhaps. Let's see who's out there. Let's see, you found the other day that 2 streamers have given you permissions to use the featured chat on their streams. I don't know what that means. But the fact that you say moo ha 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 makes me a little nervous. Oh, you've nominated Coding Garden, Oh Bother, and Chef Brandt. There are a lot of people streaming right now. My goodness. A lot of people. Coding Garden, I believe I've rated him recently. A featured chat. This is something you keep. Oh no, it's not. I don't know what this is. Featured chat. No, I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to check that out. Tutor Exilius. Let's see. Chef Brandt. I don't think I've ever rated Chef Brandt. Maybe I have.
Any other varieties of pizza?
Talking about pizza. Who else? Oh Bother. O_bother. Is that a team member? Or are you just saying, oh, bother? All right, any other votes here? We've got Chef Brandt is the top candidate now for a raid. Anybody else? Lots of options here. Lucky number 11 is online. Custom conference production software.
It's interesting.
Go with the Brit. Well, you also suggested Chef Brandt. So which is it, Brandt or Brit? All right, we're going to raid lucky number 11. All right, so let's kick that raid off. Here is the copy and paste. So if you would copy that little snippet there, paste it into lucky number 11's channel when we get over there. Be nice and hang out with him for a while. I will be back on Tuesday at... what's going on? Tuesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, streaming again. Appreciate everyone hanging out with me, and I hope you all have a good one. All right, later.